Hey folks, and welcome to Typology, the show in which we explore the mystery of the human personality through the lens of the Enneagram. Thrilled to have you here with us today. My name is Anthony Skinner, producer of the show. Especially excited today because we have a really great announcement. And I want to let you know before we get to the guest, which I'm excited about as well. Ian has written a brand new book. It's called The Story of You. It is so good. I'm in the middle of it right now, and it is available for pre-sale as we speak. You can go to ianmorgancron.com/thestoryofyou to go ahead and order your copy now. And I would encourage you to do it because it really opens up the Enneagram in a way that I haven't read with other books. So excited for you to get your eyes on this. So do that. That's ianmorgancron.com/thestoryofyou. That is TheStoryoFyou. All right, now on to our guest, Taylor Tippett, author of the book Words from the Window Seat. Taylor's been featured in HuffPost, ABC News, Discovery Channel, Time, and others. A really fun and interesting story today. We get into and talk a lot about codependency, which is a big part of her story. She's a 7. She's done a lot of work, and we're all going to benefit from her vulnerability because she came in really open today. I always appreciate that when our guests come in that way. So you're going to love this interview. That's it for me, Anthony Skinner. And now here is the host of our show, Ian Cron.
Taylor Tippett, Enneagram 7, welcome to Typology.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have you on. You look all 7 today.
That's
Big
right.
smile on her face. The whole room on the screen here screams 7.
And, she can't make up her mind whether she likes New York or LA
So she's in both places at once.
at the same time.
She's
Good
bilocated.
job.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. You
I
guys
like
weren't
it.
roasting me before. Now I see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, we got some time to get even hotter. So, Words from the Window Seat, the everyday magic of kindness, courage, and being your true self. This is your new book. The premise
Yep.
is absolutely nutty. I remember I got the stuff from the publicist, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, okay, let me get this straight. Taylor is a flight attendant who is nationally known for leaving random notes on airplanes to make people's day. And I went, now that's a book I haven't read recently. And it's a very 7
Very
idea.
7. I know. It's so 7. It's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, is it 7?
It's awesome.
All right, Taylor, you're not a flight attendant anymore, right? Or you are?
No, I am. I'm still
You
doing
are?
it.
Okay.
Yep, I fly out tomorrow.
What airline?
I'm with American.
You're with American?
Yep,
So-
I'm with American Airlines.
Is that what the hat's about? Like you go from New York to LA?
No, I just thought it was a cool hat, but I do go to New York and LA. I love everywhere. So yeah, it's very, very in tune with my job.
Very cool.
All right,
Yeah.
so you are familiar with the Enneagram. It features large in your life. Tell folks a little bit about how the Enneagram has shaped your self-understanding and your view of the world.
Wow, what a big question. I love the Enneagram because I feel that it's really important to love people's true self, who they show you that they are. And I think it's really important to connect with people in a way that's deeper, than just what they show. And I love that the Enneagram kind of gives a full picture of people's beauty almost in a sense, because it is tied to fun, quirky things, things we can laugh at. But then at the same time, I really love the Enneagram because of how it's linked to our childhood. And I think, when you meet people, obviously you don't look at them and think about their childhood within the first 5 minutes. But if they do something or are a certain way, it's cool to know that there's something out there that is the whole picture, So yeah, I think that kind of answers the question. That's it. That was a big question, but yeah.
Well, how has it changed you?
Oh, how has it changed me? I think that having a more clearer understanding of yourself is so important in your journey of growth. I think, like I said, the childhood things, I think in this, spot in my life, I'm really starting to dig deep and work through my childhood childhood trauma and therapy and things like that. And I think so much of who we are is linked to our childhood. So I think the Enneagram has really just changed and impacted my life in a way to just understand myself better. And I think when we understand ourselves better, we can understand others better. When we understand ourselves better, we love ourselves better, which makes us love others better. So the Enneagram goes deep. And it's also, I love joking, and I think it's a good laugh, and it's just all the things,
Was there like a moment for you as a 7 as you were studying the Enneagram that was like an aha moment, like, oh my gosh, that's why I do what I do, or that's...
It's so funny. Well, there was an aha for sure. And I think that's when, like, even in your book, Ian, like talking about what Enneagram 7s in childhood feels like, and just feeling like my parents got divorced super young. I'm the oldest. I felt like I was abandoned. I felt like I had to be in charge of everything. So even reading that was like instant tears, because it was like, everybody's always like, okay, they hired like a PI to view my life. This is me. And so that was an aha moment. And also when you listed in the book how the different I guess bullet point things where you said that 7s always get dumped. I was like, ouch, but wow. That was my wow. Okay. Yeah. Because I had always gotten broken up with. And even if it was unhealthy relationships, I would always stick around, and I would always, get dumped. And I was like, that hurt. I'm mad at him, but also thank you.
Wow.
So yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of times 7s will dump other people because of the pressure to commit, right? And that can freak them out. It's like, well, if I make a commitment, that's going to shut down all my escape plans, and it's going to place limitations on me, et cetera, et cetera. And then other times they get dumped, I think, themselves because, if they're not very self-aware and they haven't done some personal work, like in therapy or using the Enneagram as a tool, then sometimes they get broken up with because either people can't feel they can keep up with their energy, sometimes because the 7 avoids, when they're not very self-aware, moving into deeper spaces that could be uncomfortable or painful or whatnot. So they can be really entertaining, really fun, but when it comes time to go a little bit deeper, things can go sideways. Also, sometimes 7s have trouble with follow-through. And so, people can sometimes feel like the 7 can make promises, and not kind of deliver in relationships. So every type has these struggles that are unique to their principal type. But, that's just a sort of a handful of stuff that I've heard 7s say that's been, kind of repeating themes in relationships that went sideways. What was it? So let's go here. Let's go there. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Was there a common theme among all the people who broke up with you that they said you heard repeatedly? Like, the reason I'm breaking up with you is X. And you're like, oh my gosh, I've heard this before. Was there a repeating theme?
Yeah. I definitely think it's more towards the second point you made, where I needed to do that inner work and I hadn't. And it's funny because I don't think my unhealthy tendencies have been because of a fear of commitment. I think they were so linked to my trauma of wanting to be loved and feeling abandoned that I was so way too much because I didn't love myself first, because I hadn't healed. And I just wanted to be married and loved so bad that I just smothered them. And so, I think it's more of just not doing the work, but it wasn't ever commitment. I don't even think I had time to think about if I actually wanted to commit or not, because I just wanted to be loved so badly and like just have my person and not be abandoned and left, that I would just do whatever I had to do to keep him around. And it was so like just so unhealthy.
So that sounds like a 7 who's codependent.
Yeah, very. But it's funny too, because I'm such an independent person, but in relationships, I was just so like, I didn't have a person, like it was love. Like I had to be loved and wanted and needed and, you know, codependent on the other person to want me and need me and, you know, do things like that for me. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're doing some work, you know.
Yes.
And
yeah.
you know, because codependency, regardless of your type, if you're struggling with codependency, it's a really life-limiting affliction, you know.
Yeah.
And that whole idea that I can't be okay unless you're okay with me, you know, and or I just can't be okay unless you're okay.
I was going to say, isn't it kind of a theme? Because we've heard this before, that this, because the 7s, you know, you know, paints the sunny picture of everything so much so that even when someone's trying to connect with them about something serious, they can't, you know, or something that might be a little more sobering. And then they finally get to the point where they're like, I'm out of here. And the 7's like, wait a minute, like, when did we talk about this? Or how could this have happened?
Sometimes, I think that it's hard with 7s when they're not very self-aware. They're just haven't done their work. That denial is really easy for them, and it's like sometimes you have to light your hair on fire, is what I like to say with a 7 in a relationship, to get their attention. But when you have again, this is the complication of the human personality. Right. You can't just say, okay, someone's a 7. They're always going to do this. They're always going to do that. Yeah. People aren't built that way.
That's right.
So, you know, people say, oh, he's anxious, therefore, you know, he must be a 6. And I'm like, no, actually, that's a 2 with an anxiety disorder. Or that, you know, that person's really depressed, they must be a 4. It's like, no, they could be a 7 wrestling with depression. Right. So it's complicated. So, you know, here we're talking to someone with Taylor who's a 7 who, by virtue of trauma and life experience, is bringing in, she's talking very codependent themes. And it's possible that an inexperienced person who with the Enneagram could go, oh, she's a 2 or a 9. Right? Because that's more typical of 2s and 9s. To have those codependent features. It's like, no, she's a 7 who's wrestling with codependency. But would it be fair to say, Taylor, that, you know, for a lot of your life, that addressing trauma, painful stuff in your life would have been difficult because you shied away from dealing with distressing emotions and feelings and thoughts? It's like, and was always on the move, you know, trying to stay 5 steps ahead of the pain. I just don't want to look at it. I want to stay happy. I want everything to be fun. I want everything. Does that describe your experience?
Literally, yeah. Really, since I was 18, I was like in and out of relationships. If it wasn't healthy, obviously I wasn't healthy. If they weren't healthy, it didn't matter, like whatever. I just needed to be loved. Would take a month off, meet somebody, got my flight attendant job, would get broken up with. The next day I'd be on a flight to Portugal, crying, had raccoon eyes, working on myself. But then it was just like this unending cycle of not wanting to deal with the issues. But at the same time too, and that's something I really appreciate you pointing out, is that while so much of our like number really can help us heal and grow, like there are other factors too that affect it. And that's one thing I wish that I understood more of, like, because sometimes I'll like, you know, people will be talking about the Enneagram, and I struggle with anxiety and depression and OCD. And so while certain things are laid out for a 7, I sometimes don't necessarily align perfectly with them because of mental health issues that I have. And, you know, I really appreciate you saying that, because there's a lot of things that we can look to and towards, that's our number, but that doesn't mean it's going to be like exactly verbatim what it's supposed to be like, you know?
Yeah. Well, as I like to say, just because you know someone's number doesn't mean you know them.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. People are complicated. You know, the
Yeah.
Enneagram is a data point among many that you can take into account when you're discovering who another person is or who you yourself are.
I like when you talk about when you compare the Enneagram to the color wheel.
Yeah.
That there's just so many different, you know, like you've said, if you walk into Home Depot and say, hey, I need red, they're going to say, what 2,000 shades of red do you want?
Right.
So, yeah.
And what version of 7 of all the very different variations of it do you want? You know?
Yeah.
Same thing. All right. You've written this book, right? Words from the Window Seat, the everyday magic of kindness, courage, and being your true self. What's the story behind it?
The story behind my book?
Yeah.
It's a lot of stories, actually. So basically, my book is a collection of the past 28 years of living. And each chapter is a note that I've left on a plane for somebody to find. And it's the story behind it or stories that inspired it. There was no way. I tried to sit down and write start to finish, and I was like, this thing is everywhere. Like, I want it to be so many different things. Even in my subtitle, she's like, you need to pick 3, and I was like, well, it's a lot of stuff. So it's a really beautiful just collection of different stories, from traveling and my job and being a human that struggles with mental health and childhood, and it's a lot. It's great though. But yeah, each chapter is a note, is inspired by a note that I've left when I started my project, Words from the Window Seat.
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah,
so,
it's
and I love how 7 it is. So you started leaving these notes, these Post-it notes for different people, right? On the planes that you're serving on, and obviously they had great impact on people, right? And was deeply moving to people. And it's a great premise, right? About showing kindness to other people, and hopefully enriching their lives by these random messages, right? I fly all the time. I mean, all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And ain't nobody left me a note. What I need
and
to
how
fly
meaningful
American.
would it be if you
you fly Delta or Southwest, don't you?
Delta.
I knew it. I knew you're a Delta guy.
How did you know I was a Delta guy?
I think it was the glasses. I don't know.
Oh!
I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, I just want to say that if American got a few more new pieces of equipment, I would be happy to ride on Delta. But out in Nashville, they're all these old commuter planes, little CRJ 900s or 700s or whatnot. See, I even know the names of the equipment. I fly so often, I actually even ask. My assistant actually knows on different pieces of equipment which seat I likes to sit in. Oh, it's a 737? Okay, he likes this seat. Or if he's on, he's going to be on a Dash. Oh, have you ever been on a Dash, one of those little Dash 8s?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's a prop plane, man. You do not want to do those.
No, I've done those.
Oh, no, it's not good.
Tiny. Not good. I fly on the big one, so I'm not on any of the CR, ER. I'm on the 737s and the mainline ones. So
what's
but
your
they're
route?
very small.
Okay, what are your routes?
Oh, just everywhere. I'm going to Austin this weekend, and tomorrow I do LA, Vegas, Vegas, LA, then LA, Austin. Then I do Austin, Dallas, Dallas home. So I'm everywhere. You couldn't find me if you wanted to. You'd have to search. You'd have to search hard. I'm all over the place, which is fun. I love it a lot because I don't like the same thing. So I get to go everywhere. No, you would know.
It's very 7. I don't like the same thing. Take me to a new city every single time.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
You
you said the Enneagram has helped you love yourself better. Can you open that up a little bit? Like how has it helped you love yourself better?
Yeah, I think when we take the time to get to the core of who we are, who I am, and to really just not be afraid to like embrace our true authentic selves, who we are at our core, like showing up exactly how we are and not faking it. I think we just have like a real relationship. Like think about your friends, like you have your high maintenance, like you have to take a breath before you see them friends. And then you have your friends who come over in sweatpants and like they're just themselves. Like we value those relationships a lot more. Not that we don't value the others, it's just different. And I think the same goes with ourselves. Like when we can show up exactly how we are and understand that clearly and like love ourselves, even though some of that stuff might make us cringe and not always laugh and like have fun. I think we really can like, that's where the work and the beauty and the joy and like the trueness of who we are and who God's like intended us to be and created us to be. Like we love ourselves because we're who we are, you know, and we're not faking it. And I think that the Enneagram is such a beautiful tool to really have a more clearer picture, maybe not a perfect picture. And that's what I love about it. It's not perfect. It's just like, this is what it is. And you can do like, there's 1,000 different routes and things you in paths you can take with the Enneagram. And that makes us, you know, really understand ourselves, and there we can love ourselves better. So,
and of course, what you're saying, I think is, which is true, is that the Enneagram is an approximation.
Yeah.
It's an approximate picture, right? But it doesn't, it's, you know, you aren't going to see it in the clearest detail, but it's a pretty good approximation of 9 different ways that people show up for life, right?
Yeah.
Approximately. So anxiety, you've mentioned the word anxiety about 5 times. You are in the fear triad. And I know from knowing many 7s that though they look very confident, anxiety is a big theme in their lives. I know more 7s who tell me all the time, people have no idea how scared I am.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I hear it all the time. Yeah. I look fun. I look confident. Yeah. I look like I'm, you know, just like full of life and I don't have a care in the world.
Right.
But if you look behind the veil, you're going to realize that I'm a very scared person who is just constantly carrying anxiety around. Sometimes it's about abandonment. And often in childhood, what happens with that 7 is they have experiences of abandonment, neglect, overwhelmment, whatever it might be. And then what they do is they begin to try to get out of that. They try to be flying from Las Vegas to Austin to LA, from LA to Cincinnati right. They're on the run.
Yeah.
Like 7s are on the run. And I'm not saying that's why you became a flight attendant, though it is a great metaphor. But it is like, you know, they're on the run. It's like they're always looking over their shoulder, like something's chasing them. You know,
it's one of those strategies you talk about to deal sometimes with that inner anxiety.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're running, they're looking over their shoulders at whatever the object is of anxiety. What was your object of anxiety? If you looked over your shoulder before you started doing work and you're looking over your shoulder like, I got to keep running. You know, I don't want to have that thing catch up to me. What was the thing that you were afraid would catch up to you?
Not being in control.
Oh, Unpack that. You
sound like my therapist, but control.
For the next half an hour, I am your therapist. Unpack that for me. What does that mean?
I have realized, you know, I have finally found a good therapist. And for a long time, you know, we would always talk about like anxiety and depression and like tools and all these things. But I found a therapist about a year ago, one that I really love. And like our first session, like my diagnosis was trauma brain. Instead of viewing like all the things that come, she said that all of the things that I have are because of my trauma. So I don't have anxiety. I'm not like, I might have a chemical imbalance, but most of it comes from my trauma, not healing my trauma. And if we can do that, then all of these other areas should be better because I have the tools that I need. And so just getting that and like having that healing and that understanding of, okay, I'm not all these things. I just need to focus on this one thing, because how I am anyways, it'll take me 5 years to do something that would take me 2 months because I run around or avoid or whatever. And yeah, I think just realizing, she's like, is your house spotless all the time? And I was like, yeah. She's like, that's trauma, that's control. And I was like, okay. So there's just so many things that are linked to our trauma. From a lot of it's from my childhood, mostly all of it is from my childhood, and just wanting to be in control is such a big thing for me because I had abandonment issues. So when I was little, I stepped up and I felt like I had to do this and do that and do that and do that. So now as an adult, I have to be in control of everything or else I'm anxious. And when I'm not in control, I'm having anxiety. So whether it's the future, if it's my husband driving the car and he's not in the left lane, even though the left turn is in 3 miles, I'm just anxious because I'm not doing it. And so, yeah, I would think if I looked over my shoulder and was about to be anxious, it's probably because I'm not in control of something and I'm not just letting life happen, and that's so true for myself. Anytime it's something's going, it's not that it's wrong, I'm anxious, it's because I'm not controlling it. That's why I'm anxious.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So did you grow up feeling like you, that in pain or when you were facing struggles, that no one was there to support you?
Yeah. My parents got divorced young, and my mom, after they got divorced, just had addiction tendencies and kind of left a picture. I haven't talked to my biological mom in over probably 15 years at this point, because she just wasn't a good mom. And my dad got remarried really soon. And so my stepmom became my mom. And, as a kid, you just want your parents to be together, and nobody really explained to me what was going on. So I just felt confused and abandoned. And since nobody was explaining things to me, I felt like I couldn't go to people for things. So then I handled it by myself. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah.
Yeah, and so for a lot of sevens, Anthony, that what happens is they, because they don't feel anyone's there to support them, that no one will be there for them. The unconscious message that they absorb, right, is no one's here for me. I have to take care of it myself.
Yeah.
It's all up to me. And then no wonder you create a Neverland in the head, right, where your strategy is, let's just have fun. Let's just keep it smiling. Let's just keep it optimistic. Let's just, do all that stuff. But, and addictions are a big thing for sevens. Oftentimes because, it's the quickest route to pain management.
Right.
And I'm wondering for you, Taylor, if relationships were addictions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Relationships and also reassurance. I used to, in relationships, even if I obviously didn't want to be abandoned, I would try to make the person break up with me to get reassurance that they wouldn't leave me. So how twisted and unhealthy that is. I would push them as far away, even though I didn't want them far, but I would push them to have that reassurance to come back to me. So I would feel wanted and needed, because I just had such big abandonment issues, it was so unhealthy and gross. But yeah, relationships were my addiction for 100%.
Wow.
That's sort of an expression of that control too, right?
Yeah.
Just trying to control your environment, reject them before they reject you. Yeah. Because my growing up, unfortunately, but thankfully, I saw, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. I have a lot of alcoholics in my family. So I am cutthroat. I'm all in or none. And so I chose, I drink now, but I didn't drink and I said I would never drink. And I did, but when I was 21, I finally did. But I was so petrified. I remember hanging out with friends, and if they would smoke weed, I would almost have a panic attack, because I just thought it was I was just so tormented and hurt from my childhood, and seeing people walk out because of those things. So thankfully I have not struggled with substance, but 100% relationships, just my they were everything in my early, teen years and 20s. How do you navigate that in your marriage with your husband, the fear of abandonment?
I have come a really long way. And at the beginning of us dating, I tried to break up with him and push him away once just to see how it would go. And that was like I had been going around that mountain so much and like so many times. And as soon as I did it, I felt different. And I was like, this is the right person for me. Like we can't do this. Like, because he is healthy enough to not play the game either. So he was like, he's such a good, solid human that he doesn't put up with that stuff. And like at the very beginning, there was a few times, but for the most part, this is just such a healthy, good, beautiful relationship. But we really work on communication, and, I have obviously shared the most raw and deepest real parts of me, and he does the same. And so I think just finally having like a safe person has been how we navigate it. So I feel safe enough and understood enough to not want to be the same. And also because I'm doing the work on my own. But I think him being aware and him being healthy enough to work with me, even if that means space. Like a lot of people can't give somebody space, So yeah, I think thankfully I learned my lesson, because I did it so much and I ruined so many good relationships because of my tendencies. Like I think I finally just got to a point meeting the right person where I was like, if you do this, what's going to happen. Like you can't, at this point. And so I made the choice to not do it and to really make sure all my relationship side of things, all my issues I had were worked on or talked about, or, for the first time I told him, I was like, hey, this is what I do. Like it's not okay, but I want you to know, because I'm working on not doing them, but you also need to be aware. And that was the first time I ever like spoke it out loud.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was just like, don't put up with me, but I might do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like, you're a young 7 who hit a bottom, and you had no choice but to turn around and face what it was, the source of anxiety, right?
Yeah.
The source of fear. In the process of that, have you felt like running? Like, just like, this is too much. This is too intense. I can't look at this stuff.
Yes, I have, but that's one of the beautiful things about even the pandemic is I can't run. I literally, like, the pandemic, as hard, it's literally anybody's worst nightmare, but I feel like with my mental health issues and also being an Enneagram, like, this is my worst nightmare, not being able to do anything, not being able to pick 7 new hobbies to do a week because I can't, like, it's the worst case scenario. So I think that since it's almost been like 2 years coming up. Like, even though I've wanted to run, I can't go fly to Portugal. I can't go rock climb and not deal. Like, I literally have just had to sit in it. And so yeah, I wanted to run at times, but I can't.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do anything, So
yeah.
As hard as this time has been, it's really, really, really been like a blessing to have. I think so.
Every type has had different struggles in the pandemic, but 7s, man, you just described, I think, what a lot of 7s have felt, which is like, I don't have the ability, all my defense mechanisms are being
taken away. Yeah.
Right. And I have to either face what it is or come up with new ones. Right. And some do, some do. They just find a way to check out, in the middle of it all. When you think about the book, like, what? Listen, imagine I'm in Barnes and Noble, and you happen to be standing next to me. I'm looking at your book, and you say, "Oh, I think you'll really enjoy that book." And I say to you, "Really? Why? Why should I buy this book?"
I think that I'm a very huge avid reader. I love reading, so I can say this from a reader perspective too. It just has everything. It goes deep. It's funny. I really focused on keeping it true to how I talk. So it's very personable, and it will inspire you. It will also call you out. It's just a lot of things. And so I think that that's so cool because anybody can get something from it. I was even worried, because obviously my audience is mostly, the ladies. And I was like, I want this to be for everybody. I want this to be for guys. And I had my husband and one of my good friends, Ricardo, have read it and really loved it and connected with it. And I'm so stoked that it's just for everybody, because I really wanted it to be something that somebody could pick up and at any point flip to a page and read a few pages and get something from it. And that's what I would say to them. I'd be like, you should get it. It's a lot of things. And in one of those things that is in the book, you will connect to and hopefully be inspired and encouraged by.
Great. All right. So last question. Do you have a word of encouragement or advice to a 7 who is, not living their best life yet? What would you tell a 7 on perhaps the beginning edge of their journey of self-discovery, facing the pain of their life, some of which contributed to the darker aspects or the shadow blind spots of their type? What advice would you give them?
I would say that the work is worth it. As intimidating, as teeth gritting, as horrible as it may seem to look at everything in front of you that you might have to deal with, just know that it is so worth it. Your future self, even if it might take, most people a couple months to get through it, for us, we're going to put it down and pick it up 100,000 times. And it might take us 4 times as long to do it. And for me, it almost took 10 years to really be able to do this. If we would have done this podcast 3 years ago, I would not be saying that. It's worth it. And as much as we love beauty and joy and all of these things that are sparkly, our pain is beautiful too. And I think that that's something that as a 7, don't be sad by it. It's an adventure. And if you can look at it through the eyes of what you look at everything else, when you travel, when you do this, when you do that, our pain and our healing is just as important, if not more important, than all of the other things that we love.
And on that note,
I have to say, I got chill bumps when you said that. Our pain is beautiful too. For a 7, what a powerful revelation.
Yeah. Wow. And this 7 is Taylor Tippett, author of the new book, Words from the Window Seat, The Everyday Magic of Kindness, Courage, and Being Your True Self. Y'all can go get it. Amazon, everywhere else that you buy your books. By the way, everybody support an independent bookstore as well.
Yes, please. Right. Always. Indie bookstores forever.
It's right. Absolutely. Instagram, Taylor Tippett, Tippett. And same thing on Instagram. And you have a YouTube channel as well.
I do, yeah.
Right?
I have all the things. I'm a 7. We do it all.
We do it all. Taylor, thanks so much for being on Typology.
Thank you.
It was really a treat.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, and good work. Good luck with all the work you're doing on yourself and with the drop of the book.
Thank you.
We wish you every good thing.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Typology Tribe, we love you. And always remember the words. May you have love. May you have joy. May you have peace. May you have healing. May you have rest. Until we meet again, people. See you later.